It's June 11th, 2023, and I'm in Greenpoint. My name is Tracy. I'm an interior designer and home stager in New York City, one of the most interesting places in the world, and I find myself in some really interesting places and wanted to bring you with me. So welcome to my commute. Today in Greenpoint, they are having their annual open studio. So Greenpoint is full of artists and creators. So today, over like 265 or more artists have opened their studios to the public to walk through. So we're gonna explore the neighborhood and take a look and see what kind of art. And later today, we're gonna drop in on a friend of mine who I've not seen in years and surprise him. So follow me. Welcome to my commute. Yeah. So I'm on Manhattan Avenue in Greenpoint, and I'm not at all surprised to see a motorcycle as well as an actual record store, games, and albums. So this is more of a creative neighborhood. There's still a lot of boutique stores, creators making things, small cafes. Primarily a Polish neighborhood since the 1850s when it was really industrialized, and that was a huge time of immigration. But it's also became much more affordable at one time. When people were getting priced out of Manhattan. So a lot of the artists came over here after the industry left, which is a typical way a neighborhood grows is the industrial buildings are left empty and they turn them into apartments, or they start with the artists becoming squatters. And then the more artsy a neighborhood becomes, the more interesting it becomes, and more people come. There's still some thrift stores. This is some interesting furniture. Dream Fishing and Tackle. I like that they've kept the name on the awning. Let's take a look. Do we need this? But do we need it? Oh, these cane chairs are going to be worth a fortune. Once upon a time, this would be a place where you would find cheap things, and now I'm sure these are all very expensive. What a great shop.
I mean, you're going back to your place.
And they still sell fishing and tackle. If you need a rod or a fly, albums.
Because I tend to buy everything in my old apartment I bought in the middle of the night online. Construction.
I think I know where to come back if I need something funky. Oh. I have to take a closer look at this record player. Yeah, I might need that. But I have no place for anything that's fun like that anymore. Look at this. This a yoga mat. Whereas in the rest of the city, the delivery guys are on bicycles. You see them all here waiting on motorcycles. So Grubhub has sort of changed this culture. So we're finding a lot of delivery people waiting outside of restaurants for the next order. We're gonna head over and see what's on the stoop. So on the weekends, instead of a yard sale or garage sale, in New York you have a stoop sale. And a stoop is technically the steps that take you up to the front door, which is not on the ground floor, but one level up. And so you'll put all your things out in front of your stoop and see if anyone wants to buy them. So let's see what's going on here. Mostly just clothes and shoes. So these old fireboxes are remnants of a time before telephones, and they would have a phone in them so that you could call the police or the fire department. And you still see them around sometimes in Brooklyn. I've seen them in Williamsburg. I've seen them, they're painted beautifully. Unfortunately now they're just kind of for stickers and posters and graffiti. But it looks like you could still use it. You lift that and push the button. I see there's a wire up there. So it may very well, someone very well may come and save the day. So I'm guessing if it's still here, it still works.
And it was like, I could tell that it was coming from a place, like it was coming from a genuine place rather than like trying to be nosy and report back. She was like, yeah, it's like, I know you love dogs, like if you ever want to like buy and like hang out and like play with my dog, like you're more than welcome.
So this building right here in front of us is really indicative of this neighborhood. So it would have built a long time ago. It has, I don't know how many different materials on it. Vinyl siding, shaker clad shingles, fake brick over the roof, then some sort of style of column, and then these chrome railings have become really popular among I think Polish immigrants mostly, sort of a sign of wealth. It is not for me, however. And the idea that there's so many different types of siding on these buildings is crazy. This is not real brick. It's like it's a sheet of brick. And then to do the two-tone chrome, they would have been better just to paint their front door, to be honest with you. Typically, the railings were all cast iron at one time. Honeysuckle. This looks like one of our stops across the street. Oh, but we have to look and see. The canopy of trees is just gorgeous. One thing I like about New York is it is so densely populated and so many buildings, but there are a lot of trees, and I think people really appreciate the nature. This looks more of like a market. These are all woodwork, ceramics. This is a sushi bar in here. I think I've stumbled upon a Japanese restaurant and market. Some really beautiful objects in here. I think these shops are going to be blending in with the art studios today. This is Dobbin Street Vintage Co-op. I may get so lost in the stores here today that I don't see much art. Oh, how about this dresser? I think this is a good paint idea. This store is called Feng Shui. I love it. It smells great in here. This lamp is so fantastic. It's only $1,498. Ooh. This is like the boho shop dream. Everything you need. Lava lamps, rattan. It's pretty funny. Yeah, right out of the 70s. Disco balls. Marrakesh type tables. I'm sure I could get a caftan in here. Huh. So this is Feng Shui. Cheese board. I have one of these at home. Oh, that's so cool.
Used to working with their, you know what I mean?
This is a fun little strip. We are on Norman and Dobbin Street. This is going to be vintage clothing in there. Yeah, definitely very 70s with the crocheted tops. I don't actually see people dressing like it's 1970s though. More vintage clothing stores. Shop 86. Oh, I hope this is stuff from the 80s. No, it's 86 Dobbin Street, but we've got to check it out. Looks like they have some artisan wares. And mostly clothes. Pretty. I'm gonna have to stop and look at the map. We haven't seen any art yet. So this building is on our map. They may just be luring us down to all these shops, I think. But I wanted to come down here because there's such a great view of Manhattan from here. Dog string free. Okay. I believe there's a market down here today. Let's just take a look. It's a movie theater, outdoor movie theater with a view of the Empire State Building. The industrial side of Manhattan. And a flea market. I have an affinity for 1950s vintage anything. So those canisters, I already have those. Usually I find at these markets in Brooklyn there's a lot of really overpriced food vendors, but I think people have some interesting things out here today. This appears to be the ferry terminal, so this would be a good reason to have the market here. There are food trucks. Skyline view. This is the East River. I'm on West Street and Noble, walking north, and this building is full of all kinds of great little shops. Stationery, creative tools, flowers. I think we found what we're looking for. Wow, this is quite the place. Very industrial space. I was just trying to find some studios that are open. Project Runway uses this space as storage, set decoration. So it said second floor. We'll see if anybody's here today.
I know it's probably in a pile somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Artists.
I don't really use it on my tax documents, even though I should.
A great space. Hi, are you the artist?
Yes, I'm the artist of this one.
Fantastic. Is your name Allie?
Yes, I am.
Hi, my name is Tracy.
Hi, Tracy.
I'm doing a just kind of an art walk today, and I'm filming it as I go along, so I hope that's okay.
I love it.
You're the first open studio that I found.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay, does this building look a little sketchy coming into it, but that's why it's affordable, right?
Yeah, I actually love this building because it's an old rope factory.
Rope
And,
factory.
yeah, so it's shaped like a U.
Mhm.
And we're right on the water, so I don't know if you saw the view, but it's gorgeous.
It's amazing over here. I haven't been to Greenpoint in like 5 years, so it was like huge change.
Yes, it's got a lot of new stuff.
Can you tell me a little bit about your work? It looks like you do some decoupage, different layering of text materials.
Yes.
Yep.
So I do applique
Mhm.
and then I paint. So
Okay.
first I do the sewing and then I paint in the details. So these are my finished works,
Mhm.
and then that other wall is like my still in progress works. Yeah.
Great. The fortune teller looks really funny. I like that there's a little sense of humor with each of these too.
Yes, they're all based on real life.
Yeah. And if you don't find the humor in it, it's tough to get through.
And so some of my work is tactile.
Mhm.
So wherever you see like the cats, those are painted faux fur. So a person could pet them. So I like that kind of. The 3D part of my work is really important, like the layering
Yeah.
that goes into it.
Beautiful. Thanks. Hi. Good. My name's Tracy. I'm just doing an art walk today and filming it. I hope that's okay with you. What's your name?
Emily. Hi.
Emily. Tell me a little bit about your work.
These are oil paintings. They're made from like drawings and mostly about like exploring color and space. I used to work in collages and things like that. But,
Mhm.
just like a fun way to explore personal experiences and make beautiful work.
Yeah, and they look happy.
Yeah, for the most part, yes. Thank you.
Great.
Hello.
Hi. Can you tell me a little bit about your work? I assume you're the artist.
Yes.
Are you Sophia?
I'm Sophia.
Hi.
I have two bodies of work here. These are cyanotype prints, and they're a sun exposure using these hand-tied nets that I built. And the other works are still life drawings with paper sculptures that I've also made.
Cool. And were you inspired because this used to be a rope factory?
Nope, not at all. It's just convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like how this turned out
Thank you.
because you can feel the water in the net.
Yes, they do seem full.
And you got the view.
Yep.
Very nice. Well, thank you for your introduction.
Exact how it's going to end up. It's really the process, and I don't know. And there'll be just a moment where like I tack it and it becomes. So I'm a little different than other people. And I also use recycled materials. So these are
So this is very common to rent a space like this. Looked a little intimidating at first, but to rent spaces like this in old factory buildings. I had an office in a space like this at one point too. We're gonna stop in Brooklyn Wilcoxon Ceramics. This looks like a really great space. So they're offering classes here, personalized. This is more than just painting pottery. This is really learning how to do ceramics. These are really beautiful.
You want the edge to be straight, or you want to do like a curve?
No, I was thinking curve,
That's okay, but sometimes, well, this one has a little bit. Yeah, let's wait like.
Heads of state. Ah, hats.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm on the art walk for the Open Studios today, filming everything. I assume this is a full-time gallery.
It's a custom hat atelier.
Yes, these are beautiful. So tell me a little bit about what you do to customize them.
Sure. So we are a modern made-to-order custom hat atelier. We have two different distinct collections. We have our organic wool hats that come from Amish country, Pennsylvania, and that are made to here in our studio, as well as our studio in the Lower East Side. And then we also have our toquilla straw, which are hand woven, of course, in Ecuador. It's the only place that you can authentically get, authentic Panama hat, sustainably sourced toquilla straw. And then those are blocked in our LA studio to kind of come in and have these beautiful options that people can try on. We are able to customize everything from the crown of the hat, which is really what makes it like a distinctive style, to the various colors. We have 5 different colors in our organic wool collection. We have 4 different colors in our kind of signature toquilla straw collection, but we also just introduced these beautiful woven sun hats. They're hand woven in Ecuador and then blocked in LA. And so everything from brim size to color to crown style, and then quite literally thousands of different trim options when it comes to how you want to ornate your hat.
Yeah, ribbons
all
and
things
feathers.
feathers, branded monograms, the whole 9 yards are all things that we customize here on site in our showroom.
And would you say these are unisex, both
They
for
are
men and
unisex,
women?
yeah. We're actually pretty evenly down the middle between like our male to female consumer base.
And are you the artist here?
I am, yes.
How did you get started in millinery? Is that the term?
Millinery would be something more specific to just women's hats.
Oh, okay.
So we like to kind of simply call ourselves a custom hat atelier. I've worked in the fashion industry my entire career. I was a very educated hat consumer. Saw a huge white space for this very heritage, traditional industry to be refreshed and modernized in a way that's very quintessentially, rooted in New York City aesthetic, modern style.
Yeah.
And so it's been really fun to kind of bring a new, fresh perspective to hat making. I have a really, really talented team of hat makers and hat designers who I work with, and it's quite a privilege and an honor to be able to work with our customers on like an individual basis to bring their unique style to life in such like an intimate, bespoke accessory.
That's great. And what's your name?
Gwen.
Gwen.
Yes.
Tracy. Nice
Pleasure,
to meet
Tracy.
you. Yes.
Pleasure. Nice.
Great. Well, enjoy the weekend. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Well, that was really fun. Now, see, this whole street is graffiti, but it looks much more of an artistic sense than just being tagged. And I get the feeling that the whole community really is creative and has that outward feeling of embracing the arts on every level. Because I think there's a big food movement here. There are microbreweries. cinema and cafe. Even if you see a movie, you're going to have some great food with it.
That's so funny. I'm not gonna lie.
There's been a number of plant stores too. Oh, this is great.
It's also
And it's really great as an interior designer to have these kind of sources, because the clients are going to want plants to complete their mood, their feeling, make it a home. And it's funny how plants are become on trend. A live wall. Live wall is a challenge. But, hi. Good. I'm on the art walk today, so I'm stopping in and finding that there's a lot of artisans here. I didn't realize. Yeah.
This is a great area to be in for artists,
It is.
especially down this way and everything, all the way to the market.
Yeah, I came from there. And is this your shop?
Not mine, no. I'm the assistant manager. My name's Kayla.
Hi, Kayla. Nice to meet you.
Currently, the manager Alex is out, but the owners are Adam and Rebecca.
Okay.
We have a second half of the business called Greenpoint NYC, and they do installations like the living wall behind me. So yeah, they had that, and then they have this, just kind of open it up to the people, so everybody gets a little bit of nature in their home.
Hi.
That's always a hard decision, but emojis don't represent purchases, I guess.
That's great.
You might need mine. Yeah, that's me. 661. Is that what that is?
Oh, I like this one.
I keep deleting those that don't have space on my phone, and so I just use the web app, and it's like, oh, you can QR. I wonder if you've never been web apps before in your life. And
It doesn't recognize.
it's my kind of get using all this app, so.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to meet you. Thank you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see you over there. Sure. I'll be doing new events over your way tomorrow.
The best thing
Hi, how are you?
Good.
And you're the artist, I assume?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Steve.
Steve. Hi, I'm Tracy. I'm doing the open studio walk today, so I'm meeting a lot of great people and seeing their work. And I'm loving your New York vision
Thanks.
here.
It's actually
Very
just
specific
a
Greenpoint,
vision.
yeah.
Yep. I started painting just the neighborhood like 6 or 7 years ago. Only the neighborhood all the time.
Is that because you live here?
Yeah, I
Just
live
like
here.
really just.
Well, I was like trying to
living
paint
here?
New York, like the essence of New York, and I started thinking, well, it's not really the Empire State Building or like the bigger, more iconic stuff.
Yeah.
It's like your corner or like your coffee shop or your building.
Right.
Right. So I just started doing my block and like my
Yeah.
corner, and then people would like connect with it so much instead of the bigger stuff, which more people recognize.
Right.
The Empire State Building, but less people are gonna have like their own special. It's more of like a souvenir or
Yeah.
something like that. Whereas with this, people have like their own experience with the place or the scene.
And did you find that many of the places in this community closed during the pandemic? Like, have
Oh, yeah.
you painted places that you're like, oh, I'm so glad I had the chance while it
Yeah,
was still
and not
here?
just from the pandemic. I mean, this neighborhood
It's
buildings
changing
are
all
always
the
closing.
time,
Businesses
yeah.
are always changing. and so lots of stuff I'm painting isn't there anymore. And then I intentionally try to paint stuff that I know will be gone.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of historic type buildings and really cool old buildings that will be gone. So I try to paint those. I have a running list that I'm.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
How do you know they're going to be gone?
It's just kind of obvious. Yeah, a lot of times they're already sold. They just haven't been knocked down yet, but they'll sit there for years. So that happens a lot of times.
Right.
So one will be boarded up or whatever, and you just know that it's a matter of time until it'll be knocked down. Other times, it's just a type of building that you know won't make it. So down the street, there's like, do you know the neighborhood well? Or do you...
I haven't been here in years.
Oh, okay, so
no.
there's this Polonaise, a Polish dining hall that hasn't been one in a long time, you know? And it's been a bunch of different things, but the building is this really old, weird building, and they're not going to turn it into something else. Whoever buys that will knock it down to turn it into a totally different building.
Right.
And so there's ones like that where it's just obvious that its days are numbered. So I painted that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was listening to some other like YouTube videos about Greenpoint, and someone was mentioning about this clock. Do you know the history of this clock?
Yeah, I know a lot about that clock.
Let me,
that's why I painted it.
I figured you might.
Yeah,
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so well, first I was interested to find out that a lot of these cool landmarks, they're the cities obviously, but it's always up to some private owner to maintain it. So this clock tower is actually has to be taken care of by this vision care business, like a glasses company. It's their job to like fix it when it's broken. And maintain it and keep it clean and everything. But even though they don't own it. And the reason they did that is that the city was going to rip it out and get rid of it. Or they did. It was up the street further.
Oh, okay.
And they loved it so much, they said, well, we put it in front of our place and we'll take care of it. And the city did.
That's great.
And this is all like, 100 years ago or something.
Yeah, and I heard these clocks were around because people didn't have their own timepieces, and that there's only 4 left.
Yeah,
the
is
other
there
ones,
only 4?
That's what I heard.
Yeah, I don't know the number, but
so I know
what
I would assume the one by the Flatiron, right by Madison Square Park would be one.
Oh, wow, like
now,
in the city.
Yeah, so now that I know this, I'm on the quest for the other 2.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? Like
I am too now.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that make sense? The one?
I didn't know it was that special.
Right.
Very
so
cool.
it's one of 4.
And then that makes even more sense why they wanted to like preserve it. Like the city was going to remove it.
Right.
And then they jumped in, the owners, and they were like, we want that clock tower to stay. That's so cool.
These are beautiful.
That's cool. Oh, yeah? Oh, wow. Yeah. And you can't get it anymore. They didn't publish that many of them. So I looked it up on Amazon, and you know when the books out of publishing on Amazon.
We were just looking at some art in the former Faber pencil factory. You can see the building. It's on the corner of Greenpoint Avenue and Franklin Street, and it's got the pencils at the top. There's interesting detail at the top of this building. And this was the site of the pencil factory that was moved in 1861 from Manhattan when their factory there burned down. They came over here and opened it around 1861. And Faber-Castell was founded by a German cabinet maker who started making pencils. It has actually remained in the family for 8 generations, and they're really well known for their colored pencils. A little historical ditty about Greenpoint. We're gonna head up Franklin, see if we can find some more artists. Continuing our walk up Franklin. This is Elder Green. Looks like a really great little brunch spot, and this is a really pretty area. It's getting a bit more residential the further north we go on Franklin. I would come here in the early 90s to visit Louis. And this is really, the only people you would see out are the domino players and Dominicans with their music in the afternoons. So it's changed completely. I hope all of the original residents aren't gone, but gentrification comes everything is more expensive, and places are constantly changing. So these are some interesting buildings across the street over here. You'll see, I'm gonna cross real quick. The old and the new. So you've got a very old building, and then you can see how they've even modernized the clapboard house with the skyscraper in the back. Now this building I read about, I forgot the name of it, but I believe this was built by one of the oil barons to house employees at the oil refinery. It was one of the first employers to actually build housing for their residents. And then he sold his company to Standard Oil and Rockefeller, and then I'm sure all the rent on all of these apartments skyrocketed.
Is there a boy cabin?
Hi. Beautiful.
And I was like, well, that's exactly what George and I go.
That's a really pretty version. Oh, and boots. I once went out wearing my paint pants that looked almost like those boots. And I was afraid to meet my friends out, and I said, oh, I'll go. We have to go to a dive bar though because I'm like covered in paint. I look terrible. And when I got there, some girl asked me, she said, are you a real painter or are those pants helmet lying? And I kind of laughed because I didn't know what was the right answer, like what's more cool. So I just told her I was a real painter, and I think she was equally as impressed. I felt like, oh, I should wear a different pair of pants every time I paint and then sell them. I had no idea that Helmet Lang was selling pants with paint on them for $300 at the time, I think. Which was a fortune. It's funny now that like a pair of shoes can start at $300. No one flinches. I feel like we're getting back to a little bit more of the old country, as it were. A little bit more reminiscent of the Greenpoint I used to know. Chain link fence. This looks like another hot eatery. Madre. Open air. Got the music going for Sunday brunch.
Sorry.
So this is a really interesting example of how they tore down one of these row houses and completely built in a modern building. And I think it looks fantastic. Sometimes it can really, it looks off, but sometimes it can really look bad. But how interesting is that? It's got sort of like a French rooftop, I think, right in the middle of this block. Now this building, vacant. And this is what I'm typically used to seeing in Greenpoint. Again, it's this like fake brick awnings and the new and improved chrome railings. And this completely changed over here with a cafe, very popular cafe and kitchen. And another florist. So I imagine everybody in Brooklyn has lots of plants. There's a church here. This used to be a deli. Plenty of times I ran down here for beer. A beer run in New York is typically downstairs on the corner. Buzzer's broken.
30% is sort of portrait driven. I do a bit of landscapes, but they're sort of tucked away in the storage or in flat files or hidden away right now. And obviously I do stuff with knots. So the knots started like a million years ago. I was in Peru and at the museum there, and I was looking at an exhibit of their form of communication with knots. Interesting aspects was used like what it looked like a necklace, but specifically meant knots, and it's for trade, it's for counting grain, it's a total form of communication. And I started doing a deep dive into that, and then from that it was like moved over to just knots in general, and then I did a deep dive into that, and I'm interested in it because it's sort of the first form of technology that people don't ever think about. Like everything that we have is built on trade that's built on knots, right? And so people have just sort of forgotten about that and don't even think about them at all anymore, but they're sort of primal to a lot of the civilizations around the world. And one thing that sort of ties them all together is that all over the world, everyone thinks of them like sort of like a dream catcher, which stops and blocks evil. So for almost every culture, whether you're Arabic or the Celts or Aztecs, knots are sort of, they ward off evil. So in the same way that Basquiat would sort of like scratch something out, and then you would be forced to want to figure out what he scratched out, it sort of activates your brain to like, what is that word? What does that mean? It's the same thing for me. I'm burying stuff in between, behind the knots. It's sort of like a protection thing over top of it. So if I'm doing a portrait of something that I care about, like I'll bury it in knots. You know what I mean? A whole bunch of shifting of portraits with knots sort of growing on them. And all the knots now are sort of thinned out. I used to make these large ones like that with say 500 knots, but they were just super dense, like layer. Now it's sort of like stripped back. I use the same 6 knots for the past, 15, 20 years. and I use chance operations. So I roll, it's 1 of 6, so I roll a dice. If I roll a 1, then I will use a number 1, right? Whatever it is. And I used to mark the canvases or the paper with, 1 through 6, 1 through 6, like a graph. I don't do that anymore because I know where the positions are. So I'll roll a 2 and a 5. That means I'm gonna go to position 2 and 5, and at that point is where I place the knot. I allow myself to spin it any way I want, so I have still composition and control, and sort of that limitation sort of frees me up. So I'm interested in that. Yeah, most of it is really chance operations, and then I add in whatever is happening in my little dream world. So all this stuff is done with a mixture of about 80% saliva, 20% pigment, because I put my DNA into all the work. It's moronic. I could be done with them in a day or 2 days, but they spend months and years. I'm interested in the slow process, so I do these ridiculously slow washes, and it takes forever to build up. So like just to get a highlight, it's like 5, 6 passes. It's moronic, but I just like the slow process, right? I'm in no hurry. And I typically rotate stuff in and out, so like it gets full up like this, salon style, and then I take everything off, and I start again from 1, and then it slowly builds up over a year, and then back out. Brand new stuff, this is like 7 days old, and this is about 3 weeks now. So like this one is coming along really fast, only because I had a dream, and I was flying like bird's eye. As a kid, I was like obsessed with drawing fish, so I was always going to the Miami Sea Aquarium. So I had a dream about 7 days ago where I'm flying over Biscayne Bay. That's what the blue is, Biscayne Bay. And I'm watching over so here's the Miami Sea Aquarium, here's downtown Miami, right? And I was on a bus, a school bus. I'm gonna put a little yellow school bus right here. I'm on the yellow school bus when I'm 11, and I look out into Biscayne Bay, and I see the islands that are surrounded by pink fabric. And I didn't know what it was. I said, what is that? I thought it was some work, but I was like, oh, look how pretty, and look at the color of the pink. 25 years later, I discovered Christo Jean-Claude. I don't know if you're familiar with the right? So they did the gates, they wrapped everything, the Arc de Triomphe, like they just wrapped. Well, it's just him now. So after 25 years, I started doing a deep dive, and I reverse engineer, and I go back to I see that, and I'm like, oh my God, that's what I saw as a kid. Totally freaked me out. So I had the dream of me flying over it. So this is gonna end up being a really hot pink because that's how they were wrapped. But yeah, I put a little yellow school bus right here, and so now I'm gonna build all the kinds of fish on top of it. It's gonna get really dense with fish, so you're not even sure what really is going on in the background. But I use all source material from like 1700s, 1500s. For that kind of stuff. I have all these old antique books that I like to work from, and I sort of mix and match that. Like, these are headdresses from the 1400s. So I've done like hundreds of drawings of those like that, and I have like 30 that I work from. And so now I'm sort of like, I'm tweaking the things now. I'm like adding modern clothes or sunglasses or a cell phone, or like I'm starting to like play with that whole thing now. None of those are out right now. And then lastly, I have this weird obsession with these weird, sort of surreal still lifes that I've been doing on and off for years. Don't ask me what's going on. What's really going on is the table is basically a stage for life, and then I'm just placing and playing on top of it.
So Louis, the last time that I was here, none of these buildings were here.
I know, they've all sort of shot up in the past 10 years and sort of killed the view. I mean, this whole area down here was an open area. You could basically see the entire New York skyline. It was a big old open area that Bloomberg owns. And
you were telling me Boardwalk Empire was filmed there, right?
Yeah, I mean, basically they put giant shipping containers and lined them up and stacked them about 4 high, and then on the inside they painted it cinema blue so they could key on any background they wanted. And then they built the whole Boardwalk Empire in the center with tons and tons of sand that they brought in, They built the entire boardwalk and all the buildings, and it was amazingly done. I mean, we used to sneak over there at nighttime and just check and look inside the sets. They were immaculate. It looked completely like it was ready to work, like turnkey building. But yeah, now all these luxury buildings have shot up here, and they sort of killed the view. I mean, in the summertime, the barges line up right here for the fireworks, and
we used to go up on your roof and
Yeah.
watch the fireworks.
Yeah, and
Can
now
you still see them?
you can still see them, but the buildings sort of have killed half of the view. I mean, we still, because of the park here, you can still see a lot of stuff. We still have the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building, but the barges literally line up there, and it's amazing and spectacular. Right here will be about 20,000 people watching the whole fireworks go off. And we're just right there on the roof there, and if the wind is blowing right, you know, you'll get the paper from the fireworks hitting you in the face. It's that close. But yeah, it's
Cool.
still spectacular. It's still amazing.
Are they? What are they doing over here?
Well, they're building two buildings. You can sort of see in the rendering right there. They're going to be about 11 stories. They wanted them to be like 45 stories, but we fought and squashed it and got them to build only 11 stories. But this was a super fun site here, which people don't even realize. This is like
Oh, right, because
horrible.
Newtown River's just on the other side,
The
right?
Newtown Creek, which separates
Creek.
Queens from Brooklyn, is a super fun site. It's one of the most polluted places in America because just over there is major oil sites, you know, and they've been basically seeping and leaking down into the water for almost 50 years. And so they're in a major cleanup and have been for at least a decade. And this was another super fun, and now it's going to be a luxury building here that's almost a half a block long.
And no one cares.
And nobody cares, and half of the people that will be there have no clue that they're living on top of a Superfund site.
Yeah.
Or were. It's actually been cleaned up really well, but, you know, you're in spitting distance with a bunch of really toxic stuff. But they're building a park all the way along, and over time there's going to be just one after another of these mega luxury buildings.
On the
And-
riverfront, which you can see. You can sort of see through there now.
Yeah, so they're forced to make a walking park promenade that's going to go all the way down to Williamsburg.
Okay.
That's part of the deal that they sort of made with the developers in order to have these luxury buildings here. But you know, it's sort of raised the value of the area, made everything hyper expensive. All the supermarkets that are popping up have been sort of refurbished or are brand new, and it's all gourmet, it's all, you know, hyper Gucci around here now. So, you know, before you didn't see anyone but Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. This whole neighborhood was Puerto Rican, Dominicans, and also Polish. And the Polish people have been pushed towards Ridgewood. It's only a few of those stores and restaurants that are still left. Almost all of the Puerto Ricans that were living here have been pushed out because they can't afford it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm lucky that I'm sort of locked in here because I've been here so long. Otherwise, I couldn't afford the neighborhood. But now Greenpoint is like a destination. It's one of the most highly sought after neighborhoods. Has the highest birth rate in New York City. It's basically dogs.
I heard someone say
baby carriages.
if you wanted a
coffee shops.
dog, you come to Greenpoint. If you want a baby, you go to Park Slope.
Yeah, well, the birth rate now is
Now
highest
the babies
right here.
are coming
Yeah,
here,
they're
too.
because, you know, it's
You can have all this.
yeah, and you have an amazing view in front of all these buildings on the little park promenade there. You have a beautiful unobstructed view of the Manhattan skyline. It's amazing. I mean, the UN is right there, Empire State Building, Chrysler Building, it's all right there. But you know, now you see Teslas everywhere.
Oh,
There was
yeah.
never Teslas here before.
Yeah,
Now look, there's
that's
two
true. Two of 'em.
two right in front of you right now, and that's what the whole neighborhood has begun. It's all luxury vehicles.
And forever, pretty much, this looked like this.
Yeah.
Right?
It's been, yeah.
Construction,
I mean, this is
dirt,
new right
new
here.
sidewalk.
This is all new within the past few months.
Yeah.
This was never, it was all dirt except for right there. But I believe there's a school coming in right there, and another giant building will be here, which will for sure kill more of the view.
Yeah.
But I've had it for 20 years, and New York is always reinventing itself and changing, so I still appreciate it.
And hopefully a nice, like a
No, the
walkway
the
and
promenade
park
is
down
gorgeous.
there.
What
It's
can
gonna
I say?
be
It is
good.
gorgeous. So I, you know, if I want to have a nice cup of coffee, I just walk, you know, a block, and I have an amazing view. It's sort of like my fake front yard is right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have the East River as my front yard.
So you're pretty lucky with this spot.
I'm lucky in one sense, yeah.
Oh my gosh, we would not come over here and take that L train to save our life.
I know. Like when I moved here, my father was freaking out. He's like, there, people get killed. I mean, literally, this was bad here. I mean, like 50 Puerto Ricans would stand out in the middle of the street and shoot their guns off right there. The building next to mine was completely full of drug dealers, and the cops would stay on the building right opposite with binoculars watching them. And like clockwork, every couple of weeks, they would, like paddy wagons, literally would roll up. They'd take everyone out of the building, put them into the paddy wagons, and go right to the police station. And then like 2 days later, they would all come back, and it would start over again. I'd look across the way, and I'd see police with binoculars on the roof right there, watching them again. It would just repeat. So those days are gone.
Yeah.
And now we have
Little
coffee
more
shops and bar
babies
restaurants and babies and people jogging and lots of dogs and, you know.
Yeah.
Like, there's coffee shops everywhere now.
It's
Like,
beautiful. I
yeah.
really enjoyed walking down here. Well, thanks, Louie. It was so good to
Yeah.
see you.
Thanks for coming
Catch
to
you
the
again.
neighborhood to check
Yeah.
out the neighborhood and some art. It's great.
What a great day. Thanks. I think this is really funny. Somebody put bird feeders out in New York City as if birds other than pigeons were going to come. But hey, pigeons have to eat too, right? So my other camera died. I'm going to have to finish this afternoon off with the iPhone. I hope this works out okay. Little community garden. How pretty is that? More people putting things out on the street. I got myself a turquoise bag. I had to take this. Don't need any children's potties now. Party bus, juice truck. Dogs. How cute is that puppy? There's an old house, all shingle style, but cute little yard. And this house as well, flowers all the way up. There's actually a lot of really nice architectural detailing along this street. I'm on Java. These are some old buildings. They need a little work, but the details are there. Not quite there. It's a real mix in this neighborhood. And I think the thing is, behind all this clapboard and fake siding, there's actually really nice stone buildings behind there. So some people choose to take all of that off and refinish it, and then some of it is just left. More chrome fence. Which, when you know that once upon a time it looked like this, it's really heartbreaking. So this house has a huge light outside. Looks like that may have been a gas lantern at one time. And I know a lot of places in Brooklyn did have gas lights that look like a street lamp in their front yard. These are lovely. Lions.
And once I went inside, I was like, this is worse.
Oh, look at this house coming up. Look how beautiful this house is. Very old, detailed, Victorian detailing. And Louis was telling me that this was purchased by one of the first Polish grocers in the area, and he still has his grocery store today. And there is a koi pond with fish in there. I mean, how nice is it for someone to take this kind of care? Very pretty. I mean, that's fake lighting, but those would have been old gas lamps once upon a time. Back to Manhattan Avenue. It's almost 7 o'clock now, so things have gotten sleepy for a Sunday evening. Of course, all these sidewalk. Or I should say street side, cabana type things are all COVID related. people weren't allowed to eat inside, so they built outside, inside, little houses for people to eat in, which is really pretty ridiculous. But it met all the standards and it got restaurants to have more seating outside. Look how pretty this street is too. Flower market. Ah, this is Polynese Terrace. Our artist friend, Steve, his name was Steve, who does the painting of the local neighborhood, was talking about that this building, he feels like, is on its way out. And I agree. It's empty. It's probably going to come down. And I'm sure this was really wonderful in its heyday. I'll have to read more about it. But yeah, I'm guessing that'll be on the chopping block sometime soon. Church bell. It's so quiet here now, it feels eerie. Just a few hours ago, this place was bustling. This is an interesting building too. This is a much more commercial area, much older than what we were looking at in the artisan shops. Now this kind of fence I've never seen before. Nice enough someone to stick their garbage in the end of it, but this sort of pole through the circle, never seen that before. Let me know in the comments if you've ever seen anything or know anything about that style. Another church. This is the Union Baptist Church. These are very uneven sidewalks, so I'm trying really hard to watch my step. This is really pretty fence work. Okay, now here's some interesting detailing on the facade of this building. They haven't changed it all so much like modern buildings, but they did a clapboard in an interesting design. Painted it gray and did the black detailing, and I think it came out really pretty. It is really nice. There's another interesting detail I haven't seen before on an old, now this is an old building. They still have the old interior shutters, and look at the bars on the round windows. I've never seen that before either. Zoom in on that view. That actually looks really pretty for having to have bars on the windows. This is a whole row of really nice ironwork. And then all of this beautiful detailing next to this fake brick. This is really common of these buildings. I think this was put up in like the 60s. It's a total laminate fake brick. So bizarre. Always with the aluminum awning. At least it's just one material on the whole front. As opposed to some of these homes have 4 different types of siding on them. All right, we've got another interesting combination over here. We're gonna take shingles that belong on a roof and put them vertically on the front of this building that once upon a time had really pretty old wood detailed carvings for an awning. Like, I don't even know what happened to this building. There's a brownstone underneath it there. And then right next door, very modern renovation. This is gorgeous. I have not seen fencing like this in anywhere. So they kept the wrought iron front. Very nice. So this home is for sale. I'm gonna have to look it up later. It's 111. I think it's Java Street. We'll have to look up again. Oh look, same detailing here. So maybe that's something that was original to the house. Huh. Victorian detailing and the colors, stained glass. And this has a much more colonial look. Federal style with a mauve siding. This actually is a really handsome looking house. Okay, so this is an old historic style. This is the fourth of these now I've seen. And another one across the street. I'm gonna have to look out for that type of shingle work in other neighborhoods. House with a porch. That would be my dream. A little outside space. Put a rocking chair on the front porch. We were on Noble Street, so 111 Noble Street, to look up the listing.
Nice hat, sir.
So this finishes our day in Greenpoint. We've seen a lot. We got a free bag, and we didn't spend any money, which was really kind of the best part. We saw some great art. We talked to some really interesting people, and overall, I'll be back here again soon, so I hope you will too. Thanks for joining me on my commute today. We'll see you next time.